Welcome to our panel, Still So White, How Today's Top Brands Are Tackling Diversity, where we will discuss how brands and how two in particular are taking actions to drive systemic change throughout their organizations. My name is Jennifer Risi, and I'm the founder and president of The Sway Effect, one of the fastest growing marketing communications agencies today, where diversity, equity, and inclusion is at the center of everything that we do. Today, I am joined by two amazing women. First, Colleen Rooney, Chief Communications Officer at Signet Jewelers, the world's largest retailer of diamond jewelry with brands such as Kay Jewelers, Zales, and Jared, and much more. Colleen joined Signet in September 2019 and oversees Signet's internal and external communications, as well as corporate social responsibility. I'm also joined by Nadja Bellan-White, Global Chief Marketing Officer at Vice Media Group. Nadja joined Vice back in October 2020 and is responsible for developing the enterprise brand strategy for the media conglomerate. She oversees Vice's marketing, brand strategy, data and insights, and global communications in more than 25 countries. Colleen and Nadja are both two powerhouses, having worked with both of them. I know they both walk the talk when it comes to D&I. So let's get to the conversation. Ladies, I want to start with something fundamental. Where do you think we are from a D&I perspective? And do you think diversity is digging in or taking a step back? Nadja, why don't you start?
Funny, I've often been asked this question, and here's the truth. I think that there are a lot of people who believe in the rhetoric of DEI. I think there's far fewer that actually have sustainable impact through their programs. And I'm a firm believer, and I've worked in a lot of organizations where everyone likes to preach about diversity, but when it comes down to whether or not you're actually providing the opportunities for people to make real decisions, whether or not the board is behind it 110%, that's a very different story. So yes, progress has been made, but we have a long way to go.
I couldn't agree more, Nadja. It's interesting, after working in a number of companies, you can really see who's talking the talk and who's really walking the walk. And I'm so proud to be a part of a company at Signet with the CEO and a board chair. Jenna Drosis is our CEO, who's diversified the company. I think it's 52% women or people of color on our board, and that flows through all through our org. And guess what? As we both know, Nadja and Jen, the business couldn't be doing any better. So people really should sit up and take notice and stop thinking that it's just talk, because when you walk the walk, the results show themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Colleen, to talk a little bit about that, I mean, we've been on the journey with you guys since you became head of communications at Signet, and have watched the company go through a complete transformation. And, you and I talk a lot about how D&I and Jenna's approach to that and the team's approach to that has really helped drive the success of the organization. Talk a little bit about some of the things that have been put in place that you think has really helped drive the change.
Yeah, I mean, before me, it was Jenna and the board imperative to diversify right at the top. It's not just said, it has to, people need people to look up to. But then it was really all about a cultural transformation and creating a safe environment where we can all show up and be our true selves. Diversity takes many forms. It's not a shallow concept. And so, today, because of that, because of the leadership team's focus on creating environment where all are welcome, and you have a strong pipeline of talent that represents the world that we live in. We realize that it's much better to be purpose inspired, and DE&I is in our purpose. And simply said, we may be the world's the largest diamond jewelry retailer, but really we exist to inspire love. Simple as that. And DE&I goes hand in hand with inspiring love. So we seek to be social advocates for change in all the communities that we serve. Unfortunately, as you know, and Nadja knows all too well, there's a lot to be done. So as a result of this, our engagement scores are up 30%. We have 95% on average index for engagement. I wholeheartedly believe that that's because of the diversification efforts, efforts on equity, efforts on inclusion, doing the right thing. And as I said earlier, it helps the business as well.
And for folks that, go ahead, Nadja.
Go ahead. I mean, I think that, Vice represents, the next generation all over the world, where it's not enough to spout numbers. What they want to see is action. They want to see reflected in the content that we put out every day. They want to see it reflected in the reporters that we have out in areas like Afghanistan and other parts around the world. They want to see themselves reflected in what they're tuning into. And so that when we talk about the rhetoric, and I applaud Signet and Colleen's organization, that's some of what Nancy had to do when she came here to Vice. We've already been on this path, but the type of leadership it takes to make this a sustainable part of your business strategy is not a short order. And it takes someone being deliberate and dogged and resisting change when many want to take the easy way out. So that's part of why I came to Vice, is to continue to be at the epicenter of culture, where quite frankly, if you look at this younger generation, tokenism simply won't do. And so that's why you have to show up in your authentic self every day. And quite frankly, they're going to call bullshit on you. And this, so it's not enough to be on the cover of whatever publication you have saying I'm the most diverse, but at the end of the day, when you look underneath the hood at your practices, you don't really practice what you preach. So that's why it's often not the loudest person, but look to the actions of the corporations and the media organizations in which we're a part of to really see who's making an impact and easily speaking on behalf of those brands.
I love what you guys are doing at Vice. I just want to say that. Sorry, Jen. You guys are at the epicenter of a very complicated industry in a very complicated time. And so we all
complicated people.
Yes, we all appreciate your leadership.
Love them, but they're right. They don't want to live. They don't want to live by anybody else's standards. And when it comes to diversity, it's almost like an overused term at this point, because it just is. Shouldn't it just be what it is? I just saw an article that Singapore is one of the most diverse and safe places to live if you're a person of color. That's crazy. Singapore.
Yeah.
That's what we're faced with today.
And that's why I wanted to invite both of you to be part of our panel for the 3% conference this year, because 3% this year is taking a look back. They've existed for 10 years. How far has the industry, the creative industry, come? And both of you are at organizations that have come a long way and candidly are still in the process of continuing to drive the change in both very different industries. But both of you, knowing you both, having worked with both of you before for quite some time, I know both of you are trailblazers and disruptors and driving your industries forward and actually always doing the right thing. And so to me, I'm so grateful that both of you have joined me today, because I know the work that both of you are doing in industries that are male dominated and have had a lot of challenges in the past. So talk a little bit about what you encounter on a day-to-day and what you're looking to drive and do at your organizations internally. Nadja, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I show up every day not knowing what's going to hit my inbox, quite frankly. That's the wonderful world of being CMO advice, is what has happened in the world. It's going to impact the decisions I make, but I'm fortunate to be with a group of colleagues that really does take this commitment to DEI seriously. We actually don't even talk about it because it's just part of our DNA now. It's become that entrenched in how we do things. And you have to understand, being at a news organization, a content organization, where we're actually churning out millions of pieces of content every day, we have tough conversations with each other. Is this the right story we should be talking about? Like when we decided to go, when we were in Afghanistan, or when we broke the story in Charlottesville, when Alzo talked about the disparity in how people of color were treated when it comes to real estate and owning property, in the South. We break stories that necessarily aren't popular. But I've always maintained that what we've tried to do at Vice is put diversity aside. We stand on the side of truth. You may not like the truth that I'm going to tell you or my colleagues tell you, but we're going to stand on the side of truth. And that can be quite difficult for some. And I don't think this is everyone's cup of tea, let me be honest. And guess what? The older I get, the more I realize I really don't care, because I think standing in my truth, standing in Vice's truth, is where we're always going to net out. And it may not be for everybody, but it's certainly for our millions and millions and millions of followers all over the world.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of what Nadja's saying, and in admiration of that, because storytelling is at the heart of culture. So appreciate again what you guys are doing at Vice. And I think for us is similarly, we stand for very strong values, but also we are the value portfolio in our industry. So we believe that all should celebrate life and express love. And so what does that mean? It means we absolutely have to stand for love and stand against anything that has any hint of hate. And so when you build a tribe of folks that are destined to, yes, grow the company, but grow it in the right way so that we can all leave a lasting, legacy, where we can all welcome each other for our own unique, individuality. That's how it becomes rewarding to work in a culture and to find like-minded individuals. I mean, I think Nadja and I both like what you're doing, Jen, because you've taken you're one of the best, most badass, people in the industry. And here you are, you're creating a company based on your own purpose and passion. So it's just sticking together, creating a tribe.
Yeah, I don't think people give Jen credit enough. I mean, Jen was with me when we were transforming countries in Africa together. I mean, so she's seen a lot from different perspectives, which I think gives you a unique perspective on DEI, right? That few probably don't even realize. And I think it takes more people like us on the front line committed to affecting change. But let's be clear, it's not over. There's still a long path, but you still walk into those boardrooms where you get the blank stares. You still get the element of tokenism that happens oftentimes when you show up to certain meetings. You can tell when someone has genuine interest in you because of the value you bring to the table versus your gender or color of your skin, right? You can tell that a mile away. I now call bullshit on it much more than I did before because I'm in a position where I can. It is exhausting still because those people are just still in many positions of power. And I, for one, I'm not going to stop until we eradicate it as much as possible.
Well said, Nadja.
We saw last year with the social justice movement, with the untimely death of George Floyd, you saw a lot of brands really step up and make statements. And I was even asked recently by a media outlet to kind of give a sense of, which brands are authentic, which brands actually are driving change and which are just going out for PR sake. What do you all think of that statement and the fact that, there was an opportunity for brands to take a chance and to do the right thing. But, some did, but a lot more didn't. And I feel like we've also lost a lot of momentum where there was a lot more awareness maybe last summer. And now people have moved on to the next thing and are not following through on a lot of the commitments that they made. And that's part of the reason we came up with the name of this session, is because I'm really getting sick and tired of people going out for PR sake. And then behind the scenes, it's just not real.
Oh yeah. I mean, I see it every day. There are those who've been on the forefront of these battles for a long time. I think of AC Eccleston-Bracey at Unilever, who was her and her team behind the Crown Act. She's doing that, yes, as head of beauty and personal care at Unilever, but she's been doing this for a long time. Alini Santos, has been at the forefront of DEI for Unilever for a long time. Mark Pritchard was just honored at P&G, and Mark is also going to be at the Ebony Power 100. Mark's been a big supporter. I call out some of these not to say that these partners are not there, but they've been committed long before George Floyd, right? And I think that many have, yes, we're taken aback by what's happened. Me being African-American, know that this is something that I've been facing all my life. And certainly for many of my friends and family members, we live with this every day. But the question is, what are you going to do as a result of it? Right? Like, you recognize that this is part of who we are as society, but what are you going to do? And I'm sorry, too many corporations, too many businesses just sit up there saying, we want to do something, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to put myself out there. Oh, I don't want to upset my constituents. What you end up getting is a whole lot of nothing. So, it's time for our industry to stand up. And yeah, the creative industry is still way behind, way, way behind. Media industry, burden and privilege, we're still behind. We still got a long ways to go. And so that's why I'm still here. That's why I haven't ventured out, to do my own, because I still feel I can make an impact, still being part of, a larger organization, and won't continue, won't stop until we at least get some equity. I got to be at the table a little bit. And I think, we have a long, long way to go. I see too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just, echo what Nadja's saying. I think to do the right thing oftentimes is to do the hard thing. And we saw that case in point, when the tragic events around George Floyd happened, two things within Signet. It was very difficult for us to boycott Facebook in the middle of a pandemic. It was the right thing to do. Stop hate for profit, and guess what? Doing the right thing, our entire company, all of our team members were grateful that we were standing up, even though it was a very difficult business decision. But even more important was listening with our full self and asking our amazing African-American colleagues to teach us all, what does it feel like? That is hard. And that was so rewarding, because you can't make progress unless you truly understand and let other leaders lead. And so I think for me, that was the most powerful realization, that we can't make progress until we let the leaders that know how it feels, and what there is in the world today, they have to help us understand and then move forward. So, we stood up a Signet Love Inspires Foundation. One of our primary causes is to be social advocates for change. Of course, we need to do anything that we can to fight systemic racism, and we need others to help us figure out, who do we partner with? Who do we give to? What do we do? But always, it should be doing the right thing, even if it's hard. That's my net.
That's right. And it starts earlier. It starts in the educational systems, investing in the scholarships, making sure the schools are supported, all the way through to university, making sure you have jobs and supplier diversity. They're all aspects of DEI that need to be supported, not just what the tagline is or the headline is for a comms release. And oftentimes when you get into these organizations, what you find out is people just don't want to do the tough work. They're like, yeah, but those are the budgets that get cut, or, yeah, we already have someone that's representing, so why do we really need to do everything? No, you need to be dogged, you need to be committed. And trust me, for the millions and millions of younger people that I represent every day, they support those businesses that are much more committed to DEI than not. And so when I speak to brands often, I said, you don't have to listen to me. You can just listen to how your numbers are going to decrease over time, because they will go somewhere else, or knowing this generation, they'll just create their own.
Yeah, Nadja's right. I mean, consumers are looking for authenticity. They are looking for, I will vote with my wallet, and I want to be a part of, positive change. And so I'm going to align myself with people who believe what I believe.
I mean, and Colleen, your company, with what you're seeing with Signet, as we've talked about already, the proof is in the pudding, right? So taking a much more inclusive approach to your business has had tremendous results from a results perspective, a stock perspective, just overall performance perspective. And, you would think it would be obvious to people who resist this change that the actual impact is there, but we still live with people who just don't get it. I mean, I had a call this morning where someone was talking to me about, we have to figure out our D&I strategy because we're seeing it more in requests for proposals. How do I get this done? I said, why isn't it done? Or my first question was, why isn't it done already? Why isn't your team already as diverse as it needs to be to address the brand you're trying to pitch? You're very late to the party in the fact that you even are having this question, because as we've seen, even in RFPs for different types of businesses from my side, this is as fundamental now as what is your approach to D&I, what is your diversity makeup of your agency, as similar as what's the work that you do? Give me some case studies. And this is just the new norm, and it should be. And
by the way, what we're still struggling with are people that are still resistant to it.
Yep.
They're like, oh, but do I really have to have someone? Are you sure? But, and then they pull a junior person on the team and say, oh, come to this meeting. Come to this meeting because you're a woman. Come to this meeting because you're Black. You think people can't tell that that's bullshit? Come on. I could tell when I'm sitting across from people. And I remember once we were evaluating some firms, and I did not choose a particular firm because I looked at their leadership and they were not diverse at all.
Yep.
And I'll be damned if I'm going to hire a firm that doesn't reflect and have a diverse group of people that's part of that group. And so let it be known on record, that's one of the things I'm looking for. I can't have anyone advising me if you actually don't reflect the cultural mores of the very target audience that I represent. So it's a problem for me. It absolutely is. And I let the leaders know that as well.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I love that. And I so admire what you're doing, Nadja. And I think the more folks that make that a principle, you know, the more powerful it will be. I don't understand why people don't see how not only important it is to do, but how, you know, how profitable it is. Our transformation could not have happened without cultural change. Cultural change does not happen unless DE&I is at the heart, the foundation of what you're doing. And as you said, you know, the results speak for themselves. We're going from a $6 billion entity to 9 billion in a very short number of years. Couldn't have happened without power of our people, and our people, you know, absolutely need to represent the world that we live in.
So I'm going to end on one final question, because I want to make sure that people who are going to watch this are going to watch the whole thing. We don't want to make it too long. So last thing to both of you, what advice would you give to folks listening and watching this of what they can do in their organization? I know this is a question that probably has come up multiple times to both of you in different talks you've given, but unfortunately we are where we are and we still have a lot more work to do. So any advice for someone in their organization that wants to make the change that we've all been talking about and hasn't really seen it yet?
I can say one. Just don't let the woman or the person of color stand up. If you see something that's wrong, say something, right? Just don't leave it to that person in the room to say, well, I knew it was a problem. I just didn't want to be the one to stand up. You like, you know, you're smart. If you believe that something is wrong, say something. Don't sit there quietly, because I have to tell you, I've been in too many meetings and too many organizations where people said, yeah, I would have said that, but I figured it wasn't my place. There's not, you know, because if you're silent, you're just as culpable of those who are taking the action. So be brave, stand up, and be a true ally.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, building on that, you know, I would look for your tribe. And so who will stand up with you? You know, silence is permission. So we all need to stand up together. And so it's much more rewarding to work for a company that believes that, you know, we all have the ability to make a lasting legacy on this earth. So find that company, find that culture, find your tribe. And as Nadja said, we all have to stand up together. Even if it's hard, it will always be the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Nadja, Colleen, thank you both for joining me. You both are extremely impressive people. I consider both of you part of my tribe, and I would do anything for both of you. And you amaze me every day by what you're doing. So thank you for doing this with me. And I hope everyone enjoys our talk.
Right back at you. Keep swaying the sway effect, Jen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jen.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
See you later. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Take care.